Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Ray and Benny Talk Sports. Today we have a huge show in regards to the NHL is starting. The NHL show is back in town. We're going to look through both conferences, split it up by division, and look at those playoff teams. We're also going to check out what happened in the NFL this weekend. Some crazy things happening with Russel Wilson. Who knows what's going to happen in the AFC? Who's the best team there? Of course, we have the Jon Gruden incident happening in the NFL, and we will address that as well. If we have time, we'll talk about the CFL and the dominance of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And who knows, maybe we'll talk a bit of fantasy football this time around. Joining me, as always, on this voyage is Bernardo Miele. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing good, Raymond. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Thanksgiving in Canada, eating all that food. How's your Thanksgiving?
It was good, but a little bit too much turkey, 2 turkey meals, and then another dinner out last night for a birthday, so a little bit too much food.
I can't do turkey, man. I don't get turkey. It's always dry, and then people have cranberry sauce that like comes out of a can, and they don't even mix it. They serve it like it comes out of the can. What is that?
Yeah, I don't do the cranberry sauce. You gotta cook that turkey good and get a little bit moist in there. I do agree that if it's badly cooked, it is very bad unless you throw tons of gravy or something on it. So
yeah. You deep fry that? I've seen those videos on TikTok. No, people deep frying it.
But I did deep fry once, not this weekend, but I have deep fried them before, and that adds another layer, and that's pretty freaking good. So,
yeah, and you survived it, no burns.
I did not start a fire, so that was definitely a good thing.
Yeah, I see some tragic ones there where the turkey breaks off of the twig. Like people are using twigs rather than a metal pole. It's like, what are you doing? What do you expect? Of course, you're gonna get burned. But anyways, we're here to talk about sports, brother.
Yep.
Let's talk about the NHL season starting. So many optimistic fans. We're looking at a season with fans in the arena, 100%, hopefully. So it's going to be hyped up. So let's talk playoff teams. Who do you think is going to make the playoffs? And let's start in the East and the Atlantic. Let me give you my 3. I got Tampa, Florida, and Toronto making it in there. Tampa, they've lost their third line. Yeah, I get that, but they are championship tested. They have championship expectations. They have a great coach in Cooper, who they just give an extension to. He's been in the system. He's a system coach. He's been with them since Syracuse. They have a top 3 goalie, and their core, like I said, they are championship tested. So I think they're going to the playoffs for sure. Florida, we got a rivalry there, like we were talking about. I think this is the NHL's hottest rivalry right now. Maybe not 2 years ago, but right now, this is where it's at. I think it really depends on their goaltending with Bobrovsky. Last year, he was like .906 in the season and .841 in the playoffs. So it might be Spencer Knight's team. So we'll see there. So goaltending it will depend or will decide what happens in Florida this season. And of course, I got Toronto. Will they succeed? Will their success in the North translate to the Atlantic Division? I don't know. I don't think they're built for a long playoff run, but they're there, and we'll see how they handle that playoff pressure in Toronto, because it's real pressure with the media. Sheldon Keefe, he got his extension, but when the clouds are gray in Toronto, the noise gets loud, and can that team handle it? Who do you see coming out in the Atlantic Division, Bernardo?
Well, I got 2 out of the 3 same as yours. I'm going to go with you got to go with the Stanley Cup, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions in the Tampa Bay Lightning. A team that has Vasilevsky, you can't count them down. They got Kucherov. A healthy Stamkos will go a long way. Their defense is pretty good as well. So I definitely see them making it back to the dance and defending their title. I will go Toronto and Boston as my other 2. Toronto, like you say, they got the firepower, they got the forwards. There's no questions there. Matthews, Marners, Nylander, those guys will definitely be good once again. Their D with Riley back there, and then they got Muzzin as well. So it should be better, you would think. Their issues again will be probably in goal, and we'll see if Campbell and Mrazek could be a good tandem this year. Campbell had a pretty good season last year, but can he do it over a full 80 games, and who will be the starter, or are they going to split 40 games each, or what? Or
Yeah.
Then I got to go with Boston still. Boston still always seems to find a way to make it up there. You got Marchand, Bergeron, solid D with McAvoy. So I definitely see them being the top three in that division for sure.
I gotcha. I was thinking Boston too, but for me, I think this might be the year Boston falls off. Let's go to the Metro division. I have the Islanders, Carolina, and Washington as the three coming out of there. I really like Barry Trotz and the Islanders. They play a system that can really go far in the playoffs. It's a defensive, offensive, yes, but defensive-minded system that plays gritty. And if Trotz can squeeze some juice out of Chara and Parise, I think they can be dangerous in the playoffs. And Carolina, maybe that's a personal choice. I love Carolina. I love Rob Brindamore. He's an old school player, but he's also a player's coach. He can coach in both eras, and they're great on defense with Slavin and Pesci and Shea, and I'm really interested to see what happens with them bringing in Kotkaniemi from Montreal. They had that big restricted free agent signing, so I'd like to see what happens there. And with Washington, they're running it back with the same roster. They're going in with familiar faces, and their top six is as strong as anyone in the league. And for them, it is about staying healthy. They're an old team. 12 of their players coming back are 30 or older. So if they can stay healthy, I think they're that third team. And if they can get good goaltending from Samsonov, if he can get on a roll, if he can stay out of COVID protocols and snowstorms in Washington, I think he can be a solid goaltender. Who do you see in the Metro, Bernard?
Again, 2 out of 3 that we are going with the same on this. Again, Islanders as well. I picked them. You can't count Barry Trotz out. I would have loved for our Winnipeg Jets to hire Trotz there a few years ago.
We'll get to that.
You know us.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, definitely with the Islanders. Always a solid defensive team. Trotz always has them playing well. Their D plays well as well, and then Varlamov, had a pretty good season last year. I see them carrying that over again. The second one I will go as well, Carolina, pretty much for the same reasons as you, Brindamore. He has done very well since taking over that job in Carolina. The one issue I would probably place on them, maybe their goaltending, but we'll see how that stacks up. On offense, They got Aho. They got a whole list of guys there that, what's his name, Shevchenkov. So they got a lot of firepower up front there. I don't think they'll have any problems scoring some goals. And the third one, as much as it pains me to say this, I'm still going to go with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They have a few injuries. I know Crosby should be back soon. Malkin's out. They are definitely getting older. Will those guys be able to hold up this year? I think if they can, then they'll definitely challenge. And again, their goaltending with Tristan Jarry might be their downfall, but I still see them being solid enough to carry themselves to the playoffs.
Now, with those two differences, I want to see who you got as your wild cards. I have the Rangers coming in. I just let them do the great defense, and if that Igor Shesterkin can take the next step, and of course bringing in Gerard Gallant, I really like that coach. I still have mad respect for him, what he did in Vegas, so I think they'll get in. And I like the Flyers. I know you got a soft spot in your heart for the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm really banking on Carter Hart to have a better season, not because I think he's going to take the next step up, but because of what Fletcher did. Bringing Ristolainen, bringing Ellis, bringing Yandel. That'll take pressure off that goalie to do as much as he did. And if this team doesn't take a step forward with the experience and the talent they have, Fletcher's going to pull some trades and blow it up anyway. So I see the Rangers and the Flyers coming in as wild cards. Who do you got?
Well, I wish I could have picked the Flyers, but I don't see it this year. I've never been a huge fan of Alain Vigneault there, so they're definitely not one of them. Florida is one of my wild cards for sure. They've been coming on strong the last couple seasons. We'll see if their rivalry heats up with Tampa Bay a little bit this year. But they should give them a pretty good run. Again, questions in goal. Can Bobrovsky live up to that $10 million contract? Will Knight end up taking over? I mean, Spencer Knight ended up taking over mainly in the playoffs last year. So maybe he takes over completely and and Bobrovsky's the $10 million backup.
Yeah.
The other one, the 8th and final spot, I'm going to go with the Caps. I had a toss-up between them and the Rangers. I couldn't really decide, but I think I'm going to stick with the Caps and Ovechkin there. The only thing that concerned me, Backstrom's out. He's out for at least the first 10 games of the season. So, that could be a little scary, but I think it'll be a tight battle right to the end with the Caps and the Rangers. Gallant will definitely add more to that Rangers team and make them probably a lot more solid than they've been in the last couple seasons. But I'll give the edge to the Caps for now.
All right. Let's go to the West, and let's go to that Pacific Division. When I look at the division, I put my hands up in the air, man. I don't know. No depth. Some young teams without an identity. It's up in the air. So we know Vegas is taking this one.
Yeah.
This is a dominant team in this division. They've won it since they've been in existence 75% of the time, 3 out of 4 years. So we know they're going to take this one. They've lost Fleury, but they've they have Leonard, and they've brought in a solid backup. A guy that we know, Lauren Brossois, who can give your number one guy a good 10, 15 games off, give you a breather. Which you might need this year with the Olympic break coming in, which I hate. But anyways, we'll talk about that later or another day. And I also have Edmonton and Los Angeles cracking it in. I think Edmonton's number 2, no problem with McDavid, Draisaitl. That's enough talent to win that division. The Jets exposed them kind of as a one-line team. They brought in Zach Hyman. Okay, they have Nurse and Tyson Barrie as their cornerstones in the defense, but I still think it's a concern. Duncan Keith is old. Cody Cici, we'll see. And they have that aging goalie who, it might benefit him to have a break during the Olympics, but we'll see how it goes. And I do like the Kings. I'm jumping on that bandwagon, especially with the division up in the air. They have a strong core. That is one championship. They have Kopitar, Doughty, Brown. And yes, Jonathan Quick is not the same. It's not his net. They're going to try this Peterson kid, but he has potential. Hopefully they can get a full season out of him. And I really like the signing of Deneau after that playoff run that he had. And Alex Edler on defense, great addition. So I think because of a weak division, they're going to take that third spot in the Pacific. What do you got, Bernard?
Well, again, I'll agree with you on Vegas. I think they run away with that division, and it almost may be a detriment to them to be in that division. They'll definitely run away with clinching probably a playoff spot pretty damn early. And then it leads to, will they be able to keep up that momentum going into the playoffs? But they easily win it. They got the forwards to run in that division. Lerner should be good. And then, like you say, even if he has issues, they got a solid backup in Brossois to come in and handle that. But when you got Mark Stone, Pacioretty, Marchessault, like that line is stacked all the way through. And, they're always in on the Eichel rumors too. So who knows?
Goodness.
As the second team, again, it's going to be Edmonton. Maybe they'll get more out of their top 2 lines. Maybe they'll get more out of their D, but eventually their downfall will probably end up being Mike Smith in net. And is Koskinen now is still the backup, or did they find someone better? But
yeah,
they'll be able to score. They'll definitely do that. Their D, again, like you said, with Nurse and Barrie should be fine, or okay, but again, goaltending will be tough for them. As the third one, again, I was almost ready to pick nobody, but you have to pick somebody there, I guess. I'm going to give it to Calgary by default. I think Calgary and Vancouver will end up battling for that third spot, but I'll give it to Calgary. Just I don't know, there's not much to say that's good about Calgary at this point besides maybe Tkachuk. They lost Giordano to Seattle, so we'll see if the D can pick it up, but yeah, Calgary will round up my top 3 there.
Okay. I'm not a fan of Calgary because I think their coach is done. I don't think he has an effect in this day and age anymore. But let's jump to the Central.
Maybe he changed.
Yeah, maybe he changed. Okay. Let's go to the Central Division. Let's talk about the toughest division in the NHL. I got Colorado, the odds-on favorite right now to make it to the Stanley Cup. They are a force. And I got Winnipeg and Dallas coming in at 2 and 3. Colorado, like I said, because they're a force. They have the best number 1 line in the league, hands down. Come on, Landeskog, McKinnon, Ratton, unbelievable. And yes, they've lost a couple pieces like Saad and Donskoy, but it puts more on Kadri and Burakovsky, and they might step up because they're both in contract years. So I think they're fine. And on defense, come on. They're deep on defense. We don't even have to talk about Cale Makar, who's probably the best defenseman in the league before talking about anyone else. And the goaltending, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Darcy Kemper can do the job. Former Coyotes goalie. Winnipeg, I think this is their year. I'll say that right now. They're a team of depth. On offense, they're scary. On defense, they're scary. Bringing in Dillon and Schmidt, I can't wait to see how that defense plays. Their biggest concern is their backup goaltending, I'd say. They have the best top 9 in the league, and some might say, yeah, Pomo might be a concern. I'll let some other people talk for themselves and explain that crazy perspective. And then I think Dallas is going to come in there. They have a great way of playing with Tyler Seguin coming back. Yes, he missed a lot of games, all the games last year. And they have Radulov coming back, who only played like 10 games. And they picked up Ryan Sutter, which is an old, but I think great leader piece on the defense. And the only problem they have is they might have too many goalies in the kitchen there. So those are my 3 in the Central. Who do you got in the Central?
Yeah, I will start off with Colorado for sure. They'll be the cream of the crop in the Central. I believe they'll handily win that division. Be quite shocked if they don't. Like you say, they got a great set of forwards up front, Landeskog, Rantanen, and so on. That I don't think they're going to be stopped there. Their D is rounding into form. Makar is probably, well, not probably, he is one of the best defensemen, never mind young defensemen in this game. So the only question mark for me, again, would be their goaltending. Kemper has done pretty well where he's played, but it's going to be tough for him to replicate some of that. I know he'll have a way better team, so maybe it'll be a little bit easier on him, but we'll see how that goes. I will pick the Jets as probably second in there as well. Again, top 9, great top 9. No questions about that. Their D got better this year with Schmidt and Dillon, along with Morrissey, DeMello, and Pionk. And right now it looks like Stanley is our number 6 or 5 or 6, whichever it is. So he'll play well, and maybe we'll see a little bit of Heinola this year. I doubt it, because Pomo, he won't play him.
Yeah.
So he'll end up probably with the Moose at some point there. Yeah, I'd like to see Ehlers get that top line minutes or that PP1 minutes, but again, Wheeler's still there, so Wheeler's going to steal those minutes. And I don't know, you put Ehlers up there and give Ehlers the ice time. I think he's probably one of the top guys in scoring in the NHL. He'll definitely, I would see him as probably the best Jet if you give him the ice time for it. I am excited to see Perfetti play tomorrow night. At least he gets his one game in the NHL before Pomo sends him down. My third team, I'm going to go with the St. Louis Blues. They always seem to find a way to get it done. If they can make Tarasenko happy or trade Tarasenko for some good depth or chips in there that they can help out. We'll see if we can get a bounce back season from Binnington. He wasn't great last year, but we all saw what he could do when he's on his game. So I'll pick St. Louis as number 3.
Let's hold on with these Jets here for a second. We might not talk NFL, CFL action because we're talking hockey right now. It's season opener, so let's see what happened. So my big issues with the Jets, of course, we talked about backup goaltending. I'm not worried about injuries. Like, this team is deep. You look at that line, and you have Dubois. He's a restricted free agent, but still, he's playing in a kind of contract year and a year that he wants to redeem himself. So I think that'll be a big piece. Pomo, I'm not too concerned about the youth movement quite yet. I don't think, like you, I don't think they'll get their time. I don't think he's a concern right now. I think he has that room. I think he has his team focused. I don't know about Ehlers on the front line, though, brother. I believe in the power play, top power play. Without a doubt, he should be on the top power play. And I kind of got to see how that defense shakes out. If they can really hold their own and be stout, then yes, let's put Ehlers and let's open up the ice. I think it's a situational thing. You know what I mean? I think day-to-day, game-to-game, we want to go with Wheeler, especially now that we see him healthy, or we saw what he can do when he's healthy last year. I think we have to start out with him. front line, situational. If we need to open up the ice, bring Ehlers front line. And when that defense shows that they're steady, maybe bring Ehlers in up front on the number one line. What are your thoughts on that?
See, the thing is, I feel for the most part, Scheifele, Connor, Wheeler, their defense and back checking is pretty atrocious. If you threw Ehlers up there, at least you had one guy that would probably bust his ass to get back into the D zone and help that D out. I just like to see him play with Scheif and Connor there for at least more than a game or two or a period or two, and see what they can do together. Wheeler is still still a good player, but he's making too much for what he's kind of bringing. And is it really his leadership ability worth the $8 million contract that we're still getting? He would definitely be fine on the second line. But Ehlers, you got to find a way to get Ehlers onto that power play unit, number one unit for sure.
I agree.
It doesn't make sense that he is not on there. I expect a bounce back season from Dubois, and I think speaking of it, because Ehlers is going to be on that second line, I think Dubois and Ehlers will have a pretty good season together if they can stay healthy. Kopp on that second line still questions for me. He started off hot last year, offensively, and then slowed down as the season went on. I don't know if he has it. I mean, to fill in that second line role, or if he's going to end up getting put down for Stastny at some point and bring Stastny up. But the young guys, I want to see what Vesalainen can do. Not mess around with him. Let him play some games and see what he can do. Harkins, he'll be on the third or fourth line there. Perfetti, let's see what he can do for at least a few games. Why not? I mean, what do you got to lose at this point to see what he can do? I mean, besides him doing well, and then you're stuck with him, I guess. But Pomo, he'll figure something out to get him down.
Yeah.
A little disappointed Gustafsson couldn't beat on Nash for that fourth line center role, because I wouldn't mind bringing in that again, more youth down there. Sounds like Toninato is going to be brought back up at some point here and not stay down on the Moose. I agree with you on the backup goaltending. Comrie, I don't know if he's there. You can't have Hellebuyck play 70 games and then hope he can stay fresh in the playoffs. You gotta give him enough breaks, and you gotta have enough faith in Comrie to be able to win a game or two, or not let in soft goals, or and stuff like that. So it's a big test for him, because this is probably his last chance really to make the NHL for Comrie.
And 70 games plus maybe the Olympics.
Right.
Exactly. He's one of the best goalies in the NHL. So without a doubt, he's one of the best American goalies.
Yeah.
Personally, I would not like to see him go out there and play 8 to 10 games against other all-star teams from the world and maybe be exposed and mess up his confidence.
Yeah.
As you can tell, I am not a fan of the Olympic movement in regards to having professional NHL players in there. Any of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. Hellebuck's definitely going to play. It's kind of going to be him or Gibson, I guess, right, for that top U.S. goalie. So you're also traveling over to China. So long trip there, long trip back. Chances are you're not coming back into the lineup right away. These guys may need a couple, especially if you make the gold medal game, right? You were there pretty much right to the end. So I totally wasn't thinking even about the Olympics. So if you throw them in for 70 plus the Olympics, plus that travel to the Olympics, but come playoff time, it's going to be tough. One thing I will say about Hellebuyck, I don't think you can ever shatter his confidence. That guy could let in 8 goals and he'll tell you he had a pretty good game.
True.
So he's an interesting fellow with that. And I don't mind that stuff, because, goalies got to keep their minds in the right frame. You don't want the guy going, I played like shit tonight. Maybe I'll do better next game. No, talk about the stuff that worked for you. Why not? I know it drives people crazy, but hey, I love it. So, and again, to me, Pomo, I don't think he's the right coach to take this team for far enough to the Stanley Cup or to win it. I've seen him get out-coached. He got out-coached in the playoffs against Gallant a few seasons ago in the conference final. This team against Montreal in the playoffs last year, Scheifele or not, they would have got swept. They weren't ready to play. Agree with that. They weren't ready to play that first game at all. They weren't ready to play any of those 4 games. I think he's run his course, and if they start off bad, I would expect them to fire Pomo, but I don't think they will. But I would expect this team has its playoff aspirations. It should make a decent run in the playoffs. I don't know if they're Stanley Cup bound or anything like that, but they should win a round and compete at least in the second round and go from there. And if I just don't know if Pomo's going to make the right decisions in that lineup.
Yeah, I don't agree with you there. I think the Pomo has been, and his results are a condition of the roster that he have and the injuries he goes through. He had a great run in Nashville. I think by the time they got to Vegas, they were pounded. They went through a tougher road than Vegas did, without a doubt. They went through that Nashville series. They got pounded to the ground. And then going into the Calgary bubble, you have the Calgary. You're missing your number one center, and you're missing Liney. And then going to the next year, you're losing your defense because your GM has let your defense fall apart, and now they're depending on pieces that they're not familiar with or not comfortable with. So that's my shot on Pomo. So let's move on to the wild card teams that we did not mention. I have the Wild and the Blackhawks making it in. I think the Wild will get beyond Parisi and Sutter being lost, and I think they do have the talent to hit that wild card spot. And I like the Blackhawks. I like Taves coming back, and I do think Patrick Kane's still a force. They brought in a great defenseman in Jones. Fleury, I think, is still a good goalie, and they brought in Tyler Johnson, a championship player. So if they can avoid being distracted with the off-the-ice issues in Chicago, I think they will be a wildcard team. Who two do you got?
Yeah, will those off-the-ice issues ever be addressed in Chicago? I feel like the NHL is just waiting to sweep that under the rug. And then you still leave Stan Bowman as the GM of the Team USA too, which is kind of odd. But anyways, I digress on that. I did not pick the Blackhawks to make the playoffs. I go with the Wild and the Stars as my wild card teams. So the Wild will build off a pretty good season last year. And if Kirill can keep his Calder or his rookie season going again, I think they'll be able to challenge for that wild card spot. And the Dallas Stars with Seguin back should have a pretty solid season between him and Ben, and they got some good D there with Klingberg and Heiskanen. So I see them making the wild card over the Blackhawks.
Stanley Cup Finals. Who do you got in there, and who do you got winning it?
I got Colorado making it, and then I wasn't sure Tampa or the Islanders. I'm going to go with the Islanders, somebody different. So Colorado is going to end up beating the New York Islanders in the Stanley Cup Final.
For me, so I got Tampa Bay and Winnipeg. I think Tampa Bay, they are, like I said before, they're championship tested. They know what it takes to win. During a pandemic, coming out of pandemic, I think they're good to go. And Winnipeg, I think this is the best their roster has been in a while. And their goalie, hopefully, will be on point, and I think they will go far. You know what? I'll be a homie. I'll be a homer. Winnipeg's going to take the Stanley Cup this year. Yeah?
Yeah, the only concern... I
said it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, but we'll see. My concern with Tampa is just that's a lot of games over the last few seasons. So, I mean, not as much as most, back-to-back Stanley Cup champions would play,
True.
There were shortened seasons, but it's just a lot of games over that time. But I still see them making it far, but I think this time the Islanders will outlast them.
All right, let's go award winners. We got the President's Trophy Best Team, Hart, League MVP, Vezina, Best Goaltender, Art Ross, most points, Norris, Best Defenseman, and the Henri Richard Award for most goals. Who do you got for your President's Trophy winner?
I'm going to go with Colorado for the President's Trophy.
I'm going to agree. Colorado. They're just so formidable. Let's go for the Hart. What do you got?
I might as well lump these two together because I'm going to go Hart and Art Ross for some guy named Connor McDavid.
Okay.
I still think he's going to put up the points there and carry Edmonton as far as he can go. So I'm going to throw both of those for McDavid.
I agree with you on the Art Ross. I got Connor McDavid. This time I think Nathan McKinnon is going to take that Hart trophy. How about Vezina? Who do you got in your Vezina?
As much as I'd like to pick Hellebuck, I think he'll be top three for sure. I'm going to have to go with Vasilevsky there, taking back his trophy away from Fleury.
And I'm going Hellebuck. Hellebuck's going to take it this year. And who's going to get the most goals? The Henri Richard.
Oh, this one pains me to say it because I don't want him to, but I'm going to go Austin Matthews, back-to-back Richard champion. So
that pains me to hear that, bro.
It's tough. It's tough picking a Leaf to win anything. So, but I had to go with him.
Fair enough. I'm going to go Ovechkin. I'm taking Ovechkin. He's going to have a good year. That is some NHL talk. Holy cow. Well, let's move on to some NFL talk. Big event happening in Seattle. Not really an event, sorry. Russell Wilson got hurt. He messed up his finger. It looked like a shepherd's crook or cane or whatever you call him.
It was a bent mallet all weird. Or something?
It looks something like some kind of tool used to do some kind of damage. So he's out 4 weeks at least, maybe more. What does this injury do in regards to the NFC and specifically the NFC West, Bernardo?
Yeah, well, I don't think Seattle, along with the Niners, they may have been battling for a wild card spot in the playoffs, but neither of them was taking that division at this point. What it does for Seattle, again, Russell Wilson's Russell Wilson. He always brings you a different dynamic to that team, and at times has carried that team from their poor O-line play that he's had over the time there. So he hasn't been great this year, Wilson, so far, but the guy hasn't missed a start. Yeah, this will be the first time he misses a start in his NFL career, and I blame Pete Carroll at this point for that because that O-line has not gotten better. Wilson's not as spry as he used to be. Even watching the Thursday game against Rams, he was not escaping tackles like he was, even a couple seasons ago. So yeah, he's definitely not the same. 4 to 6 weeks, knowing Wilson, he'll probably try to get back in 4. Their schedule coming up is, you got the Steelers, you got the Saints, the Jags, and then that 4th week would be the Packers. So we all know at this point, Pittsburgh, they played a little bit better this weekend, so that we'll see. But I don't know. I don't think they're going to beat Pittsburgh with Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith is going to end up getting confused out there with that Pittsburgh D. So, and speaking of Geno Smith, he came in and actually looked pretty good against the Rams. But, pretty poor interception at the end of the game to end that game. But we know Geno Smith, he's never really the one to take your team very far. So, yeah, I think this will end up missing the playoffs here for the Seahawks this season with this injury.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks are missing the playoffs either which way. To be honest with you, I wasn't very confident in that team with that defense. They are absolutely atrocious. They might have beaten the Steelers if Russell Wilson was there. They might have beaten the Saints. They probably would have beaten the Jaguars, and they would not have beaten the Packers. So even with Wilson, that's a lot of maybes, and I don't know. So their season is pretty much done. Even with Russell Wilson coming back, he's coming back to play the Cards. So good luck with that, with not having a defense. So I agree with you. They were maybe at best a wild card competitor, but now, without Russell Wilson, who willed them to all the wins they have this year, are not even in the picture at all. So what's going on in the AFC? My goodness, we saw an impressive Bills team play the Chiefs and dominate the Chiefs. Are they the best team in the AFC?
Yeah, you would have to give it up for the Bills. They came in on Sunday night there and really took it to the Chiefs right from the beginning. The Chiefs didn't stand a chance. Every time you thought maybe the Chiefs were getting back into this, the Bills are like, nah, we're taking this whole thing. They made Patrick Mahomes look pretty pedestrian in that game, and Mahomes is making mistakes that I've never seen him make in the last few seasons. Throwing interceptions, fumbles, and hanging on to that ball too long. I don't know what he's looking for downfield, if he's looking for the big play all the time, but he's definitely not looking like himself. Josh Allen, on the other hand, he took I know the Chiefs D is bad, but Josh Allen found his tight end Knox for some big gains, found Emmanuel Sanders, he was finding guys open downfield, and he made them pay for it. The only question mark, or not really question mark, but the only other team I'm thinking right now that might be able to challenge him are the Los Angeles Chargers, who have looked pretty good over the last little bit and had quite the shootout game with the Browns over the weekend.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the Chargers and the Bills play each other and get a good perspective of where they're both at. But yeah, right now I'd say the Bills are the top of the AFC.
Yeah, the Bills are, like you said, they have a solid QB. They have a good O-line. Their defense is allowing the fewest yards and points while forcing the most turnovers.
Wow,
That combination with an amazing or okay offense can be deadly, and they have a great schedule coming up. Come on, you get to play the Dolphins. You play the Titans, which are okay. Yeah, the Jaguars. You get to play the Saints, the Patriots. They're in good shape to go far. They are a good team. Are they the best team in the AFC? No. I think they're in a place where they're young, they're hungry, but I'm still going with the Ravens. I'm putting my money on the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. And I think he's proven a lot of people wrong last night when he threw for over 400 yards and people keep saying he can't win with his arm. People got to shut up about that already. This guy can throw for 400 yards, put a team on his back, legs, and arm. So I'm still going with the Ravens as the best team in the AFC. Lots of people sleeping on them, and I agree with you too. The Chargers are up there. Speaking of the AFC, we have Jon Gruden recently resigning from the Raiders for comments or emails that were misogynistic, sexist, racist, homophobic. He covered a lot of bases in those emails. What are your thoughts on Jon Gruden as we hear people like Keyshawn Johnson saying he was always a fraud in the first place?
Yeah, it's disappointing to see something like that come out from Gruden, especially with the Raiders. Al Davis was one of the four guys in the forefront of bringing in black coaches and everything like that. So, you know, I don't see Al Davis, sitting for any of the stuff that came out about Gruden today. Should he even have coached on Sunday? Maybe Mark Davis should have stepped up and not let him coach at all. But because they obviously knew about this stuff before it actually got leaked out. The stuff, it's disappointing. Who cares if it was 10 years ago when a guy is, all that is an email. It wasn't just one thing though. He attacked everybody. Plus there's, exchanging emails of topless cheerleaders. Like what the hell were they doing? What were they doing in Washington that they got away with this? Gruden's taking the fall here, but there's so many guys that should be a part of this as well. Like Bruce Allen, he's the one who's conversing with him with these emails, and he's the one who's sending Gruden these photos as well. But yeah, he just attacked Goodell. He attacked Eric Reid for kneeling and said he should be fired. Like none of that stuff. It's time to start being able to be okay with everybody, no matter what they want to be or what they want to do or whatever. And when you're a coach of an NFL team, you're held to a higher standard, and you should be able to know the difference between right or wrong. And Gruden was definitely in the wrong here, and that none of that stuff is needed in this day and age. I mean, it wasn't even needed back then, 10 years ago. But enough already with this stuff.
Yeah, he's the public face and a major decision maker of a multi-million, perhaps billion-dollar industry. There's no way he should still have a job, and I'm glad that he resigned. For me, I agree with everything you said. I am just sick of these people crying about cancel culture.
Yeah.
Where the F were these people call about cancel culture? Where were their sympathies when Kaepernick got blackballed for taking a knee?
Yeah.
Nah? They shut up then, but now, it's a big issue. Give me a break. It's 2021. If they can't drag their knuckles into 2021, then don't watch. Forget it. And I think the NFL or the Raiders, or both of them, took a great approach on this. Let the guy have a bit of decency. Let him resign. The Bucks took him off the Ring of Honor. That's it.
Yeah.
We just can't have any of this in sport. I just wish the Ukrainian league would have done the same thing in their ridiculous suspension, but whatever. We can go into that another day. But these are the actions that need to happen.
My question on this though is what else is there? Because there's tons of emails. This can't be the only thing, and Gruden can't be the only one that said awful things in those email exchanges. There's got to be tons more, and the NFL really needs to release some of those and get anyone in part of those emails to never work again in the NFL at all, especially if they said some horrible things in there. There's no need for it anymore. John Snyder, I don't even know what he must have known some of this stuff was going on, and
of course he did. Of course,
to leave him as owner and all you did was strip him of some day-to-day duties is pretty bullshit. Actually, the NFL's going to step up there. They should have had him sell that team and get the hell out of there.
Yep, tip of the iceberg. Tip of the iceberg, not just in the NFL, but in sports. Let's not talk about the negatives all the time. Let's talk about some positives. Let's talk about positives in Winnipeg and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Man, I can't even think of a year for a long time since I've seen a team like this. When you hold another CFL team to 3 points in a full game, you are a dominant team. Like, I can't think of any more dominant teams other than maybe an Argos team in the 90s. It was in 97. Maybe the Baltimore team where offense and defense were clicking. Maybe one of the Eskimo teams, but not in the past 20 years have we seen a team so far in a season play this dominant. What are your thoughts on our Winnipeg Blue Bombers?
Yeah, that was another great show by that D on Friday night. They laid a licking to Edmonton, and even now has gotten Harris benched for the backup and the third string. So Harris is now the third stringer, which is quite the fall. Maybe Ottawa should give Edmonton a call and see if they can get Harris back.
Yeah.
But to only give up 3 points in that game, and really one of them was off an interception that got returned back to midfield, and really what did they have to do? Get 20 yards there to kick that field goal. They really never sniffed it again for the rest of the game. This is the fourth time, looking at some stats here, the fourth time this season they did not allow a touchdown in a game, this Bombers D.
That's ridiculous.
Fourth time they did not allow a point in the second half. Sixth time under 10 points. And you know what? Again, I've only given up 6 points in the fourth quarter. And you could see that D wanted to keep that in check because they were blitzing late in that game to keep Edmonton off the scoreboard. So, yeah, you know what? If this defense can keep this up, and you know the offense has got to get in a little bit more rhythm. Claros wasn't great on Friday, so if they can get him, humming every game, they'll definitely be a force. And of course, we know their only weak spot is right now the kicking game. So,
what is up with that? Someone out there, help us, please.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could take a ride out to, I think he's in California, and pick up Medlock. I don't know, make a road trip of it and see if he'll come out. Whatever you got left on that cap space, Bombers, just give it to him. Or, you know what, time to bring back Liram. I'll say this wrong.
Yes, Hiralahu. Hiralahu, for sure, bring him back.
See what's up with him. Or, you know what, frickin' look into Lewis Ward in Ottawa, or even Sean White in Edmonton. I'm ready to give up a first round pick for a kicker here, just to make sure you're there. The Grey Cup is the Bombers. The championship is the Bombers to lose.
Yeah.
And do you really want to lose it? Your kicker missing the last kick of the game, or losing in the playoffs because your kicker couldn't do it, or a convert. Yes. So they got to fix this, and I know they're going with Murtada again this week. They're giving him another chance, but. I guess we saw in the NFL this weekend. NFL kicking is not easy anymore. Apparently.
What is happening with kicking? It's just not a kicker's year this year.
No, so
this is a year for you and I should have been training camps, bro.
I could hit those things. Maybe we'll see. I can definitely miss them. Like the rest of these guys did. So
yeah.
But it's been a fun season so far watching the Bombers. So
yeah, I can't wait to see what happens the rest of the way. What an episode, man. We talked NHL, we talked NFL, we talked real life, we talked CFL. Before we leave, let me leave these folks with some fantasy football picks for your DraftKings action. I got the value picks every week, and this week I'm taking Carson Wentz as quarterback for $5,400, only because he's playing Houston. Don't you agree with that? Come on, he's playing Houston.
Yeah.
We got Darrell Williams and KC going for $4,900. Edwards-Helaire is out as a running back, and somehow they're going to get passes and yards. They're playing Washington, so he might be valued at $4,900.
Yeah.
We got Tyler Boyd playing for Cincinnati. He can put up 100 yards, a few catches, and a touchdown. $5,400 against Detroit. Yeah,
that would be value there. That'd be a good one. Yep.
And give me Hunter Henry, the tight end for New England. He put up a touchdown last week, playing against the Dallas Cowboys, who are 25th. Against tight ends, he's going for $3,900. There's your DraftKings bargains of the week.
I'm surprised tight ends or New England and their tight ends haven't been more productive with Hunter Henry and Joni Smith. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get that going.
Yeah, you hear my dogs barking. There's like, yo, it's the end of the night.
Time to go.
Finish the podcast. Wrap it up, Papa. So we're going to wrap it up. Another great week with Bernardo Miele. We're going to come back next week. We're going to get as much sports action. Every time I'm going to say we're going to talk about this, talk about this, talk about that, we sometimes don't get to crunch everything in. So we'll just talk sports next week, and I'll have the great Bernardo Miele joining us again. What do you say to the people, Bernardo?
Well, thanks for joining us this week, everybody, and hope you have a good week, and we'll chat next week with you.
All right, people, take care. See you next week.